All right, peace and blessings, family. All right, let's get back into Revelations. We're in Revelations chapter 8. We already read Revelation 7 on my last video. So Revelations chapter 8. Now I want you to keep in mind that, let me show you something. Before we read Revelation chapter 8, I'm going to read Revelation chapter 1, verse 3. Because this is something that needs to be kept in mind, because these things are going to happen. Prophecy says they will happen, and it's important to know. I notice a lot of people don't study Revelations. It's kind of like the ostrich with the head in the sand. I know when I was in the church really didn't cover Revelations. So it's why I want to really go through this whole book and give a breakdown and understanding and gain an understanding. So I'm going to go ahead and read Revelation chapter 1 verse 3. It says, "Blessed is he that reads, and they that hear the words of this prophecy, and keep those things which are written therein, for the time is at hand." All right. So blessed is he that reads, and blessed is he that hears this prophecy. Why it's a blessing? Because you'll have an understanding as things take place on the earth. And it's pleasing to the Father for you to read these prophecies. Study to show thyself approved. I don't believe any book in the Bible should be skipped. But anyway, I just wanted to start with that. So, Revelation chapter 8, verse 1. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and read it all the way through, and then we're going to go back and break it down. All right? Revelation chapter 8, verse 1. "And we had opened the seventh seal, there was a silence in heaven, about the space of a half hour. And I saw the seven angels which stood before Yah, and to them were given seven trumpets. And another angel came and stood at the altar, having a golden censer, and there was given unto him much incense, that he should offer it with the prayers of the saints upon the golden altar which was before the throne. And the smoke of the incense which came with the prayers of the saints ascended up before Yah out of the angel's hand. And the angel took the censer and filled it with fire of the altar, and cast it into the earth. And there were voices and thunderings and lightnings and earthquakes. And the seven angels which had the seven trumpets prepared themselves to sound. The first angel sounded, and there followed hail and fire mingled with blood. And they were cast upon the earth. And a third part of the trees was burnt up, and all the green grass was burnt up. And the second angel sounded, and as it were a great mountain burning with fire was cast into the sea, and a third part of the sea became blood. And the third part of the creatures which were in the sea and had life died, and the third part of the ships were destroyed. And the third angel sounded, and there fell a great star from heaven, burning as if it were a lamp, and it fell upon the third part of the rivers and upon the fountains of the waters. And the name of the star is called Wormwood. And the third part of the waters became wormwood. And many men died of the waters, because they were made bitter. And the fourth angel sounded, and the third part of the sun was smitten, and the third part of the moon, and the third part of the stars, so as the third part of them was darkened, and the day shone not for a third part of it, and night likewise. And I beheld, and I heard an angel flying through the midst of heaven, saying with a loud voice, Woe, 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 to the inhabitants of the earth, by reason of the other voices of the trumpet of the three angels which are yet to sound." Okay, so that's just reading it through. So let's go back and break it down. So Revelation chapter 8, verse 1. "And when he had opened the seventh seal," so keep in mind, 6 of the seals have already been opened, right? Let me finish this out though. So now we got the seventh seal about to be opened. So it says, "When he had opened the seventh seal, there was a silence in heaven about the space of an half hour." Now that is profound. That is very profound. I'm going to show you why. That is profound because so much has taken place. So we got the seventh seal being open because the last video we did in Revelation chapter 7, we focused on the 144,000 that were sealed. And keep in mind, that took place after the sixth seal was opened. So quick recap. Let's go back over those seals real fast. So Revelation chapter 6, verse 1. We got the first seal being opened. Verse 1. And I saw when the Lamb opened one of the seals, and I heard as it were a noise of thunder. And I heard that noise. So right off the rip, we're hearing noise. Thunder's in the heavens, right? Okay. So as soon as this seal is open, he said he heard noise of thunder, and one of the four beasts saying, come and see. And I saw and beheld a white horse, and he that sat on him had a bow, and a crown was given unto him, and he went forth conquering and to conquer. Now we know that's the man of sin. He's been given a crown. So he's going to unleash chaos onto the earth, right? Okay, verse 3. And when he had opened the second seal, I heard a second beast saying, come and see. And there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, and that they should kill one another. And there was given to him a great sword. All right, so that's the second seal. So we got war taking place on the earth, right? This red horse is bringing war. Third seal, verse 5. And when he had opened the third seal, I heard the third beast say, come and see. And I beheld, and lo, a black horse. And he who sat on him had a pair of balances in his hands. And I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts saying, a measure of wheat for a penny, a measure of barley for a penny, and see thou not hurt the oil and the wine. So now we got food prices going up because you just got the man of sin coming on the scene. You got war taking place. Okay, so now food prices are going up. People more than likely not being able to maintain crops or get shipments of food. That could affect food prices, right? So you got that taking place. So it's a chaotic scene on the earth right now. Okay, fourth seal, verse 7. And when he had opened the fourth seal, I heard the voice of the fourth beast saying, come and see. And I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him. And power was given to them over the fourth part of the earth, to kill with the sword, and with hunger, and with death, and with the beasts of the earth. So now we got famine, we got chaos, we got people dying, right? Even animals attacking. All right, fifth seal, verse 9. And when he had opened the fifth seal, I saw under the altar the souls of them that were slain for the word of Yah and for the testimony which they held. And they cried with a loud voice, saying, how long, O Yah, set apart and true, doest thou not judge and avenge our blood on them that dwell on the earth? And white robes were given unto every one of them. And it was said unto them that they should rest yet for a little season until their fellow servants also and their brethren that should be killed as they were should be fulfilled. So you seeing right here that more people are going to die. More servants are going to die. Okay, so we got all this taking place. And that's the fifth seal, right? The sixth seal, verse 12. And I beheld, and when he had opened the sixth seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake. All right, so now we got a great earthquake, and the sun becoming black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon becoming as blood. And the stars of heaven fell unto the earth, as the fig tree casts her untimely fig when she is shaken of a mighty wind. And the heaven departed as a scroll when it is rolled together, and every mountain and island were moved out of their places. All right, let's stop right there. So we got enough. We got all this taking place. You got chaos. You got war. You got famine. You got death. You got islands moving out of its place. You got mountains moving. You got the heavens being rolled up like a scroll. All this is taking place. And then when we get back to verse 8, verse 1, because now we're continuing with these seals. So we're going to the seventh seal. So chapter 8, verse 1, which we just read. And he says, when he had opened the seventh seal, there was silence in heaven for about the space of a half hour. After all that chaos, you got a half hour of quiet. It's profound, family. The fact that they put it there, that is profound. So why would silence be needed, right? Well, let's find out. Verse 2. And I saw the seven angels which stood before Yah, and to them were given seven trumpets. Okay, so now we're speaking of seven trumpets. So could it be silent so these trumpets can be sounded? Like everybody stand at attention. Like everybody pay attention. Could be. Could be. All right, so before we go further, I want to show you something about these trumpets, because you got 7 angels standing before Yah with 7 trumpets. So first, let's talk about these 7 angels. Now, there are 7 angels that are before the throne of Yah. In the Bible, it mentions a couple of them. But you can go to the book of Enoch, chapter 20, and it lists the 7 angels. So I'm going to go ahead and read them off real fast. You got Michael, Raphael, Gabriel, Uriel, Suriel, Raguel, and Remiel. These are the 7 angels that are before the throne of Yah. And these are the 7 angels that has the 7 trumpets or shofars to blow. So now the blowing of the trumpet or the shofar was not new. This is something that's done in heaven, as we can see, but it was something that we were told to do, and they have a significant meaning. Let's go over to Numbers chapter 10. I'm going to read verses 1 to 10. Because Yah required us to be aware through the sounding of trumpets, because Yah had us using trumpets. So let's see what they were for. So the book of Numbers chapter 10, verse 1. It says, "And Yah spoke unto Moses, saying, Make 3 trumpets of silver. Of whole pieces shalt thou make them, and thou mayest use them for the calling of the assembly, and for the journeying of the camps." So for the calling of the assembly. So the trumpets was to bring everybody to assemble, right? And for journeying of camps. So the movement of camps. All right. Verse 3. "And when they shall blow them, all of the assembly shall assemble themselves to the door of the tabernacle of the assembly or congregation. And if they blow but one trumpet, then the princes, which are heads of thousands of Israel, shall gather themselves unto thee." So you see, it was 3 trumpets, but if one blew, it meant for the heads of the thousands to gather themselves. But if all 3 trumpets, then it was the call to the assembly. Now check this out. Let's skip down. Let's get down to verse 9, because we ain't got to read all this. So let's skip down to verse 9. And it says, "And if you go to war in your land against the enemy that oppresses you, then you shall blow an alarm with the trumpets, and you shall be remembered before Yah, your power, and you shall be saved from your enemies." So we see that the trumpets also were for war, right? They were also for war. Let's go to the book of Amos, chapter 3. We're going to read verse 6 and 7. Check it out. It says, verse 6, "Shall a trumpet be blown in the city, and the people not be afraid? Shall there be evil in the city, and Yah have not done it?" Right? So a trumpet being blown in the city would bring up alarms within people, right? Now I got the next verse, because that goes with what we were talking about in Revelations. Check this out. Verse 7 says, "Surely Yah, the Almighty, will do nothing lest he revealeth his secret unto his servants the prophets." You see that? So everything is revealed. So when you think about Revelations, it sounds like reveal, right? Yah is giving us the understanding of what's going to happen. What we choose to not look into it, to be caught off guard, to be caught not following him. So if you are of his servants the prophets, if you follow him, he's trying to reveal what's going to happen. But back to what we're talking about, a shofar or a trumpet being blown in the city is an alarming thing. Let's go to the book of Joel, chapter 2, verse 1. Joel 2, verse 1. It says, "Blow you the trumpet in Zion, and sound an alarm in my set-apart mountain. Let all the inhabitants of the land tremble, for the day of Yah comes, for it is nigh at hand." It is near at hand. The blowing of these trumpets is that we're reading in Revelation is a warning that the day of Yah is coming. So you got 7 angels standing before Yah, giving 7 trumpets, and they about to blow. Now that makes sense why everything got quiet, right? Everything got quiet for this moment. It said only for a half hour though. Let's keep reading. And another angel came and stood at the altar, having a golden censer. And there was given unto him much incense, that he should offer it with the prayers of all saints upon the golden altar which was before the throne. Now, family, that is powerful. You got another angel outside of the 7 standing before the altar with golden censers and incense and the prayers of the saints. What is he going to do with that? What is he about to do with these prayers of the saints? Let's read. Let's keep reading. Verse 4. And the smoke of the incense which came with the prayers of the saints ascended up before Yah out of the angel's hand. Whoa. Heavy, 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 heavy. So you mean to tell me shofars are blowing or trumpets are blowing? The day of Yah is vastly approaching, where Yah is going to destroy. And he wants to hear the prayers of the saints right before he starts. Think about that. You know how I look at that? You ever been like mad at something? Mad about something, and you might have felt like you weren't mad enough, especially when you're younger. So you keep playing it in your head, and you just get more angrier and angrier and angrier. Well, one thing I do know, Yah doesn't play when it comes to his children. Those prayers of the saints, he already heard. Yeah, he heard them when they said them. But now their prayers are being offered with incense. That the prayers and the scent, the smoke of the incense rises up to him. Oh yeah, it's about to go down. It's about to go down. I'm going to show you. Yah doesn't play with his. He doesn't. So imagine a parent that loves their children or their child. That child is the apple of their eye. When you really love somebody, words like the apple of your eye shows how much you love that person, right? And check this out. Let's go over to the book of Zechariah, chapter 2, verse 8. Chapter 2, verse 8 says, For thus says Yah of hosts, after the glory hath he set me unto the nations which spoiled you. For he that touched you touches the apple of his eye. You see how the Father feels about his children. You see how the Father feels about his bride. Yeah, but he don't play. Let's keep reading. Let's go over to let's go to Psalm 17 verse 8. Because remember how I was saying before in the previous video, your love for the Father is synonymous with your obedience. Just like how Yahushua says, if you love me, you'll keep my commandments, right? It's synonymous with your obedience. So he said that the children of Israel is the apple of his eye. Let's see what David has to say in Psalm 17, verse 8. Verse 8 says, Keep me as the apple of your eye. Hide me under the shadow of thy wings. David had an understanding that Yah looks at the children of Israel as the apple of his eye. He didn't say, make me the apple of your eye. He said, keep me as the apple of your eye. Right? Check this out. Now let's go over to Proverbs. Solomon. Book of Proverbs, chapter 7, verse 2. I'll start at verse 1. Check it out. So Solomon, this was what Solomon had to say. He says, so this is Solomon speaking the inspired word of Yah. 7 verse 1 says, my son, keep my words and lay up my commandments with thee. Keep my commandments and live, and my law as the apple of thine eye. So the Father says that you are the apple of his eye, but he's looking to you to see his laws as the apple of your eye. That's how the love works. He loves you, you love him back. You don't see him every day. No man sees him. Your Father is in the heaven, but his laws are right here for you. So ignoring his laws is to ignore him. Y'all don't hear me though. Let's keep going though. So I'm showing you, the Father God does not play with his. It's the bottom line. Let's go to Psalms chapter 105. We're going to read verses 8 through 15. Check this out. Verse 8 says, he has remembered his covenant forever, the word which he commanded to 1,000 generations, which covenant he made with Abraham and his oath unto Isaac. And he confirmed the same unto Jacob for a law, and to Israel for an everlasting covenant. Everlasting, right? Verse 11. Saying unto thee, will I give the land of Canaan, the lot of your inheritance. Hallelujah. Verse 12. Verse 12. When they were but a few men in number, yea, very few, and strangers in it. So he said when the children of Israel was just a small, tiny nation, right? All the way back then, right? Verse 13. When they went from one nation to another, from one kingdom to another people, he suffered no man to do them wrong. Yea, he reproved kings for their sake. You see that? God don't play. Verse 15. Saying, touch not my anointed, and do my prophets no harm. Touch not my anointed, and do my prophets no harm. So we see God don't play. He's not going to play with his. So when we go back to Revelations, when we were reading, and we see that the smoke of the incense which came up with the prayers of the saints that ascended before Yah from the angel's hand, and we see that Yah's about to bring wrath to the earth, he said don't mess with his. How badly has the children of Israel been treated? I mean, even today. So the warning signs were there. Mankind refused to acknowledge them. So that's just what it is. So let's talk about these prayers, right? We're talking about all the prayers from all the saints. We're not just talking about the prayers of today. We're going all the way back. So just to give you an idea with how these prayers can sound like, let's go to Psalm 59. We're going to read verses 1 through 5. This is David. This is one of David's prayers. Check it out. It says, deliver me from mine enemies, O my Yah. Defend me from them that rise up against me. Deliver me from the workers of iniquity, and save me from the bloody men. For lo, they lie in wait for my soul. The mighty are gathered against me, not for my transgressions, nor for my sins, O Yah. They run and prepare themselves without my fault. Awake to help me, and behold. Thou, therefore, O Yah, the Almighty of hosts, the Almighty of Israel, awake to visit all the heathen. Be not merciful to any wicked transgressor. Salah. Heavy prayer. David said, show no mercy. Show no mercy. These is one of the prayers that's going to get ascended up by the angel. Let's read another one. Let's go to the book of Jeremiah. Let's read Jeremiah chapter 18. We're going to read verses 19 to 23. Verse 19. Give heed to me, O Yah, and hearken to the voice of them that contend with me. Shall evil be recompensed for good? For they have digged a pit for my soul. Remember that I stood before thee to speak good for them, and to turn away thy wrath from them. So Jeremiah is saying, I interceded for them. I stepped up and said, no, y'all don't destroy them. But he's saying they digging a pit for him. Check it out. Verse 21. Therefore deliver up their children to the famine, and pour out their blood by force of the sword. And let their wives be bereaved for their children, and be widows, and let their men be put to death. Let their young men be slain by the sword in battle. Let a cry be heard from their houses, when thou shalt bring a troop suddenly upon them. For they have digged a pit to take me, and hid snares for my feet. Yet, Yah, you know all their counsel against me, to slay me. Forgive not their iniquity, neither blot out their sin from thy sight, but let them be overthrown before thee. Deal thus with them in the time of thine anger. Jeremiah's prayer sounds similar to David's. Jeremiah said, deal with them in the time of your anger. When you get angry, Yah, please deal with them. I mean, that's a heavy prayer. Now, I imagine our prayers today don't quite sound like that. It may or may not. But the bottom line is, those prayers are going up, family. So, you think about our ancestors that came here in slavery and how they were mistreated. All those years of mistreatment. And then through the whole Jim Crow era, the mistreatment. Even to today, the mistreatment. How many prayers went up for the Father? And when those prayers went up, just like Jeremiah's prayer and David's prayer, the Father heard those prayers. He heard them when they was said. But he wants to hear them again before he brings his wrath on this earth in Revelation chapter 8. It's pretty heavy, family. That's pretty heavy. It's a reason why. I'm gonna show you something. Because you could be, let's say you're a servant of Yah, and your brother is a servant of Yah, right? Meaning you're both are striving to do his will. You're both are understanding that we have to be obedient. Understanding that we don't want to bring him to wrath and jealousy. So you're striving. Both, you and your brother. But let's say there's a disagreement of some sort. And that's always going to be disagreements. It's always going to be disagreements. I get that. But let's say something was unjust about it. Let's go to Matthew 5. We're going to read verses 21 through 24. Because your brother will pray to the Father just like you'll pray to the Father. Listen to what Yahushua just said. Check this out. So Matthew chapter 5, verse 21. He says, you have heard that it was said of them by old time, thou shalt not kill, and whoever shall kill shall be in danger of thy judgment. Verse 22. But I say unto you, that whoever is angry with his brother without cause shall be in danger of the judgment. See that? Angry with your brother without cause. He's comparing you being angry without cause as murdering your brother. You say, okay, you shouldn't murder. But I'm telling you, don't be angry with your brother without cause. What's that sound like he's saying? Like, it sounds like he's saying you kind of like murdered your brother. Now, he didn't physically do it, but he's saying it will be looked at like that. But let's keep reading, because it gets deep. Let's keep reading. And whoever shall say to his brother, Raka, now I'll explain. Raka means, if you look it up, R-A-C-A, the definition comes up like empty-headed. It's basically when you do something silly or dumb or whatever. It's not saying you're a dumb person, even though you can look at it like that, but it's saying that you're doing something that doesn't make sense or to one's eyes. But it's a reason why he's saying that, and I'll explain it. So I'll explain it. Let me finish reading it though. He says, and whoever said to his brother, Raka, shall be in danger of the council. Now the council will be with men come together, the elders of the city and whatnot. You could be some kind of punishment by the hands of man, basically. Okay? But listen to what he says afterwards. He says, but whoever shall say, thou fool, shall be in danger of hellfire. So you see the difference. Raka could get you in trouble by the hands of man, but by saying thou fool can get you thrown into the lake of fire. I remember I used to read this. I always scratch my head like, oh man. So we can't call nobody a fool? Well, it's deeper than that. So if somebody does something silly and you say, that's silly, or say it wasn't silly. Let's just say they did something that you would never do, right? And you say Raka to them. I know we don't use that lingo right now, but you say something on that level, like basically you said that was a bonehead move. Say that, for example, right? Like, that was a dumb move. That was a dumb thing you did, right? Okay. You're judging their action. So somebody doing something that you wouldn't do, that you think is a foolish way of doing it, is one thing. And not saying it's good, but that's one thing. But what Yahushua is saying is, calling somebody a fool, you're not speaking on their action of a particular thing that they're doing. You're saying that they are a foolish person. So you see yourself better than them. And we're talking about your brother. Remember how this started? And when Yahushua says your brother, especially in scripture, right? He says your brother, talking about somebody who is striving just like you to serve the Father, right? And remember he said angry with your brother without cause? Even though he was speaking of that, but he went deeper. So looking at your brother and seeing yourself as better than that person, and you ain't got to say those words. You could just feel that way, that you're better than that person. He's saying right here, you could be judgment to the lake of fire. But I wanted to explain that real fast, but let's keep reading, because this is the point we want to make right here. Verse 23 says, therefore, if thou bring gift to the altar, and there remembers that thy brother hath aught against thee. So right now, bringing gift to the altar, we're talking about bringing your offerings, something you're required to do. So he said, you go and do what I told you to do. I told you to come bring your vow offerings, your first fruit offerings, and all the offerings. He said, yes, this is a requirement. But Yahushua was saying, you on your way to go before the altar to give your offering, but you got an issue. You're in the wrong with your brother, right? Listen what he says. Verse 24. Leave there thy gift before the altar, and go thy way. First be reconciled with thy brother, and then come and offer thy gift. Settle that issue before you do the offering. Why? Because your brother prays too. If you wronged your brother like that and your brother's praying, your brother is hurt and praying to the Father, you don't want the Father to have an issue with you. He might not want your offering. That's why he says, leave it there, fix the thing with your brother, then come back and offer what you offer. So you see how powerful the prayer is. Imagine that being one of the prayers that's offered up, that you never reconciled. I'm just saying. That being your brother, and both of y'all striving to serve the Father, and you just out here moving reckless and loose, offending people in the assembly, and the day of Yah is approaching, and you having to right your wrongs with your own brother. It's the reason why Yahushua said this. Yahushua says, don't give your offering until you right your wrong with your brother. Very powerful, family, but let's get back to it. So back to Revelation chapter 8. So here we got it. We got these prayers being offered to the Father. We got trumpets about to sound. The day of Yah is approaching. Yah warned the world to not touch his, to not harm his. Yet and still they did. So we know that scripture where it says, vengeance is mine. This is when Yah takes vengeance. Oh man. Oh man. All right, let's keep reading. So verse 5. Revelation chapter 8, verse 5. And it says, and the angel took the censer and filled it with fire of the altar and cast it into the earth. And there were voices and thundering and lightnings and an earthquake. So the minute this took place, what happened on the earth was thundering, lightning, and probably a very massive earthquake. Imagine the people in the world wondering what's going on. And yet, not one trumpet sounded yet. All that has happened was the opening of the seventh seal. Verse 6. And the seven angels, which had the seven trumpets, prepared themselves to sound. All right, it's about to go down, y'all. Verse 7. The first angel sounded, and there followed hail and fire mingled with blood. And they were cast upon the earth. And the third part of the trees was burnt up, and all the green grass was burnt up. Wow, that is a sight right there. So when the first angel sounded, you have hail and fire mingled with blood. Now, let's stop right there. Could that actually be blood? It could be. I don't know. Now, I do understand that John is describing this to the best of his ability. So if it's actually lava, like, you know, the stuff that come out of volcanoes, I see how he can describe that as blood. But I don't want to take away from the word, because it could have really, literally been blood. Right? So he sees all this comes down to the earth, and a third part of the trees were burnt up, and the green grass burnt up. You got massive fires on the earth. Like how we be dealing with forest fires today. And people got to evacuate. Nah, this is going to be on a larger scale. It says a third part of the earth, a third part of the trees were burnt up. That's different. That is powerful. I'm going to show you something though. Because what I notice is history repeats itself, especially in the Bible. Check this out. Let's go to the book of Exodus. We're going to read chapter 9, verse 23 through 25. Exodus chapter 9, verse 23. And Moses stretched forth his rod towards the heaven, and Yah sent thunder and hail and fire, and the fire ran along upon the ground, and Yah rained hail upon the land of Egypt. So there was hail and fire mingled with hail, very grievous, such as there was none like it in all the land of Egypt since it became a nation. Sounds very similar, doesn't it? Now, you know what's key here. It says, and fire ran along upon the ground. That's what made me think lava, right? That sounds like lava. That's how the lava moves. And if you're looking at lava in a vision, and hey, you can describe it as blood. But anyway, but we see that this took place similarly in Egypt. This is going to take place on a larger scale in Revelations. And why did Yah do this to the Egyptians? He did it for his children. Remember, it was all let my people go. So they didn't want to let us go. And Yah brought this destruction upon Egypt. And we see in Revelation that Yah is judging the earth and avenging those that are his. All right, let's keep going. And the second angel sounded, and as it were a great mountain burning with fire was cast into the sea, and the third part of the sea became blood. Wow. So you got something described as a burning mountain. You know, sounds like an asteroid or something, right? Something described as a burning mountain, a rock on fire, was cast into the sea, and the third part of the sea became blood. There we go with that blood again. Verse 9. And the third part of the creatures which were in the sea and had life died, and the third part of the ships were destroyed. So you got a third of the creatures in the sea that's dying. You have a third of the ships that are in the sea are destroyed, because you're talking about this burning mountain going into the waters. What's going to happen? Tsunamis, right? Massive waves. And then on top of that, it's killing a third of the sea life, as if they were poisoned or burnt up or whatever happened to them. But a third died. A third died. So let's slide over to Exodus real fast. Exodus chapter 7. We're going to read verses 17 through 21. Verse 17 says, and thus says Yah, in this thou shalt know that I am Yah. Behold, I will smite with the rod that is in my hand upon the waters which are in the river, and they shall be turned into blood. Remember, we're back to talking about what happened with the Egyptians. So the waters of Egypt was turned into blood, like we're reading in Revelations. Verse 18, and the fish that were in the river shall die, and the river shall stink, and the Egyptians shall loathe to drink of the waters of the river. And Yah spoke unto Moses, say unto Aaron, take thy rod, and stretch out thy hand upon the waters of Egypt, upon the streams, upon the rivers, upon the ponds, upon all their pools of water, that they may become blood, and that there may be blood throughout all the land of Egypt, both in vessels of wood and in vessels of stone. So this plague that was taking place on Egypt was to destroy the drinking water. So when we go back to Revelations, we see that this burning mountain went into the sea. We don't drink seawater, family. But we're not done yet. Let's get to the next trumpet. Check this out. Verse 10. And the third angel sounded, and there fell a great star from heaven, burning as it were a lamp, and it fell upon the third part of the rivers, and upon the fountains of the waters. All right. So listen to what's being said here. It fell into the rivers. River is fresh water, right? So it said it fell into the rivers and on the fountains of waters. Best way to describe the fountain of waters, today you have a reservoir. That's like if you live in a major city and you see that big body of water that you're not allowed to swim in, that's a reservoir. That water provides water for the city, right? So he says the fountains of water. So when this star comes down, it's coming after the drinking water. But let's keep reading it. Let's keep reading it. Verse 11. And the name of the star is called wormwood. And the third part of the stars became wormwood, and many men died of the waters because they were made bitter. All right. So now you got the waters being made bitter. So remember in Exodus, we was just reading, it said that Yah made the waters of Egypt undrinkable. It even mentioned waters that were in containers, right? So if you were in the land of Egypt, you were an Egyptian in the land of Egypt in that time, you had nothing to drink. Even if you had something stored away in a container, according to what we read in Exodus, you could not drink that water. So here we got in Revelations, we got this thing called wormwood. Wormwood. All right, so this wormwood. Let's look at this wormwood. So go on the Blue Letter Bible and just type wormwood, because wormwood wasn't mentioned for the first time in Revelation. It's been mentioned throughout the Bible. But just to give you an idea, because it seems to be that it's something of bitter. So I'm just gonna read a couple. Proverbs chapter 5:4 says, but her end is bitter as wormwood and sharp as a two-edged sword. So see the bitterness. Jeremiah 9:15 says, therefore thus says Yah of hosts, the Almighty of Israel, behold, I will feed them, even this people, with wormwood, and give them water of gall to drink. So, just scrolling down, you can see wormwood was mentioned, but it was mentioned as a reference to a bitterness of water. Basically poison. Basically, it was poison. So Yah is, during this trumpet, going to poison the waters on the earth. So can you imagine that? There's going to be no water to drink. Mankind can't live without water for long. So back to Revelations chapter 8 verse 11. And the name of the star is called wormwood, and the third part of the waters became wormwood, and many men died of the waters because they were made bitter. See, the bitterness is a poison. A third of the water on earth is poison. Wow, that's heavy. Verse 12. And the fourth angel sounded, and the third part of the sun was smitten, and the third part of the moon, and the third part of the stars, so as a third part of them was darkened, and the day shone not for a third part of it, and the night likewise. All right, so now we got something here. We got something else here. Because when you go back to Revelations chapter 6, after the six seals opened, so Revelations chapter 6, right? Verse 12. Remember, the seals take place before the trumpets. So in verse 12 we see, and I beheld when he had opened the sixth seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became as black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood. Right, so we got the sun darkened and the moon turning red. But when we go over to what we just read, after the fourth angel sounded, a third of the sun was smitten and a third of the moon was smitten. So we got the sun and moon being affected twice. What happened? Now, to my understanding, when you go back to that seventh seal being opened, which we read already, and it said that there was a silence for about the space of a half hour. The conclusion I'm drawing up, family, is during that silence, the sun and the moon was able to shine again. Because how can the moon be black as sackcloth of hair? That means it's not giving no light. But then we get to the fourth trumpet being sounded, and now the sun is not giving a third part of its light. Neither the moon, nor day and night, right? I believe that when that silence took place, that was like a reset for the sun and the moon. Now, I have no factual written evidence on that, but I'm just making sense of this. It's all about getting an understanding. So just making sense of it, that seems like more than likely what took place. But anyway, let's keep going. So the fourth angel sounded, and the third part of the sun was smitten, and the third part of the moon, and the third part of the stars, so as the third part of them was darkened, and the day shone not for a third part of it, and the night likewise. So you got darkness. You pretty much gonna have darkness in the world. So you got a lot of stuff going on. By this point, we have a lot going on. Let's get to the last verse. Verse 13. And I beheld and heard an angel flying through the midst of heaven, saying with a loud voice, Woe, woe, woe to the inhabitants of the earth by reason of the other voices of the trumpets of the three angels which are yet to sound. All right, so now we got something here. We got 3 more trumpets that's got to go. But then we also have 3 woes. So let's break this down. So far we got 7 seals. We got 7 trumpets. We only read about 4 of them. We got 3 more trumpets, and we got 3 woes. So we're going to end it there, family. Because those woes is powerful, and those 3 trumpets are powerful. We're going to see how they're connected. But we're going to stop it here. Stay tuned for Revelation chapter 9. And like always, I pray that this was a blessing. I pray that understanding is had. And I'm going to leave you with peace and blessings. Oh, and please like the video and subscribe if you haven't already. I appreciate you, family. God bless.